Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we've got the pleasure of watching Last Minute Iron playing in the Tier 9 Chinese heavy tank, the WZ-111. Now the Tier 9 Chinese heavy tank is certainly one of my favourite vehicles at Tier 9 heavy, and that's because it's fast, it's got a 130mm main armament with 490 alpha damage, so you can take gigantic chunks out of your opponents, and it has a better rate of fire than my other favourite Tier 9 heavy tank, the E75. Now the E75 was one of the first vehicles that I got in the game where I truly felt like an absolute monster, and that if I side-scraped well and just kept myself in the game and kept plugging away at my opponents, then I could get through some really brutal situations and carry some games. In fact, the E75 is the vehicle that I have the most kills, at least for myself, which is 12. Not the largest number I know, considering I have played a large number of games of World of Tanks, but I was still very proud to pick up 12 kills in a Tier 9 game. And I've never managed to do that with another vehicle. I think I might have got 11 a few times, but never 12. But the WZ-111, the E75, why am I talking about them? And that's because they're actually quite similar, at least, with their guns. Fair enough, the E75 I believe has a 128mm main armament, and the WZ-111, which Last Minute Iron is playing here, has 130mm, but they have the same alpha damage of 490, and so that means that you can pull off whopping great big chunks of damage like that 547. But the reason why I'm talking about these two tanks as well is that the rate of fire on the WZ-111 is just that little bit better than the E75. Now everyone knows that the E75 has got a horrific DPM. Quite often that tank is just struggling to be able to kill its opponents before they manage to flank it. Fair enough, 160mm of awesome frontal armor, even 120mm of side armor on the E75. That's more armor than most tanks have on their front. And that's what makes the E75 great. But firing less than 4 rounds a minute is just absolutely brutal. Now the 111 does it better. It's got 12% better DPM than the E75, and so that means that you can just dish out the damage that little bit quicker, almost like having a gun rammer and vents on your tank with regards to the extra speed increase, which is just lovely. And also, talking about speed, the tank is just so much faster than the E75. Its top speed limit, I think, is roughly about 50, yes, exactly 50 kilometers an hour, but it's also got much better ground resistances and also more grunt in the engine. The E75, I believe, has pretty damn awful power to weight ratio of less than 10. Whereas for the WZ-111 that is going up to 13.42. So that makes this tank able to get around almost as if it's like a medium. It certainly is one of the fastest heavies that I have played down the Chinese heavy tank line. Even me, I guess, thinking about it though, it's not really, because the 110's also quite fast as well. But at least you're so much faster than the E75, right? And so that means that Last Minute Iron has the capability to be able to change flanks completely, which is quite unusual for a heavy when he sees that things are not going very well. Now he did some great work down that south flank, taking out the entirety of a WZ-111 on the enemy team, doing 1,850 damage to him with the 4 shots that he connected. But he realized with his team melting, as harsh as they are along the north and the center of this map, it's no use being left alone versus 1 versus 3 when the enemies are simply going to take your base. So he wants to get in there, he wants to get stuck in, and he wants to try and lower this 6 tank disadvantage that his team have. So he's going to do some good work here. He put 1 into the LTTB, now he turns around and goes for this M41 Black Dog. He angles his armor maybe just a little bit too much, but maybe he was hoping that the excellent spaced armor that this tank gets down the side would be able to help him out. Luckily he finishes off that Black Dog. Will he be able to take out the looping LTTB? Nice shot there. He kept calm and oh wow. Oh wow, look, the LTTB just slid all the way down the slope, not quite escaping there. Now he's going to take a shot at an 87, that's a very heavily armoured British Tier 7 tank destroyer, and he doesn't manage to penetrate his AP round. Instead he's going to load a heat round, just to show you where he could have penetrated the shot. He should have shot either at the top here, or alternatively he could have shot at the main gun. But instead he decides to compensate, and I probably would too in this very close game, loading a heat round to be able to shoot at the rather flat surface of the front of the 87. And the reason, again, why this tank does like to take the occasional heat round is that it isn't the most accurate. It's less accurate than the E75. It's got 0.4 accuracy. And so, frankly, Last Minute has been doing some really good stuff. Well, when I say good stuff, he's been getting a little bit lucky with where his shells are flying, especially on his first shell on the M46 there, looping into the turret. But this one, there's no luck in that. Clean shot right into the side, putting his second round into that vehicle. 1,013 damage done with his 2 connecting shells to the Tier 9 American medium tank. So this game is neck and neck right now. He's managed to change that 6 tank disadvantage that he had now down to a 2 tank disadvantage. 5,600 damage done and 5 kills. But that is the tank with the highest DPM in the game, the Tortoise. You don't want to let that shooting at you. And enough penetration to challenge the WZ-111 1.4's probably his upper plate, which although it's very well angled is 120 millimeters thick. Oh, what? Where did that one go? Talk about the poor accuracy on this gun, hey. So now he is down to a 2 versus 6 situation. Finally going to connect the shell into the T-29. He aimed that one for quite a bit longer. 2.9 seconds aim time on this tank. It does require you to sometimes sit around for a little longer than you would want to. Good shot into the side of the Tortoise there. And now a load of those tanks are low on health, but he sees an ST-1 is going to be aiming at him. And so he wants to go underneath the ST-1 so he doesn't have the gun depression to engage him. Now he sees that the T-54 is going to be quite aggressive, going completely ham against 3 vehicles there, but it looks like the T-54 gets tracked. And Last Minute Iron takes this opportunity with the distraction that the T-54 caused to get away from the Tortoise and to take the fight to the ST-1. I don't think he expected that KV-3 to be there, but he puts a good round into it and the KV-3 misses. The KV-3 is also tracked so he can't traverse his turret and his hull at the same time. So that means that the good speed of the WZ-111 1.4 gets away from the Tier 7 Soviet heavy tank. Will he put another shot into him? Oh, the KV-3 misses, puts a good shot into his side there, but now he's got to face some stiff competition with this ST-1. A very good player here. How are these 2 Tier 9 heavy tanks going to deal with each other? Now remember, the ST-1 has got the better rate of fire, but the lower alpha damage. As we can clearly see there, 501 damage done there. The ST-1 rams for 75 damage, and he only takes 6 damage in return. But luckily, the great rate of fire on the WZ-111 1.4, which, albeit less than the ST-1, manages to shut him down. Great result there, 868 damage done to that Tier 9 Soviet heavy tank. Bouncing another round from the KV-3. Bang! 481 damage. That's killing a KV-3 in 3 shots. Not many Tier 9 heavy tanks are going to do that reliably. And now, Last Minute Iron has turned a 1 versus 6 into a 1 versus 4. He's in contention for the Kolobanov's medal here. Is he going to be able to pick it up? This Tortoise is waltzing round the corner. Luckily, his cupola is hidden for the Tortoise, but he manages to connect a shell onto the right of the tank. Good round in there. Now, if that had been an AP round, I think that would have been about a 50-50, probably whether it would have gone in, and he would have probably had to aim at the weak point in the machine gun port on top of the Tortoise. But because he's been firing quite a lot of heat ammunition, he has been able to shoot the thick but flat armor very effectively. Of course, these heat rounds would be atrocious against spaced armor and tracks. I'm sure the SD-1, if he could go back now, would have over-angled his tank and used that great side armor. A casual kill there on the T-29, and that means that Last Minute Iron's chances are looking better and better right now. 9,399 damage in under 9 minutes. What a killer game this has been. Will Last Minute Iron be able to pick up his Pools medal, though? It's still very, very close, and there is a gigantic pig on the enemy team. The GW Tiger pig, to be exact, that was in a platoon with that WZ-111 1.4 that Last Minute Iron dealt with very early on in this game. So he's expecting the IS-3 to be coming up that slope. But I guess he doesn't want to sit around here for too long. If he sits around here for too long, then the GW Tiger P is going to be able to maybe sling in a shot from across the middle of the map. So Last Minute Iron decides to go and take a look around the back. He probably thinks the GW Tiger P is going to be trying to flank him. But oh my gosh, something that he probably didn't expect at all. He was looking on the left there. Doesn't manage to connect a shell in against the IS-3. That's his last heat round gone. Now he's going to be loading some high explosive rounds. Now the high explosive rounds on this tank, because it is a rather large caliber gun, are rather nice indeed. Look at that, 65 millimeters of penetration and 640 alpha damage. That is not a small amount. And when the IS-3 on the enemy team is down to below 100 hit points, that means that he can pretty much splash a high explosive round over anywhere on the enemy tier 8 Soviet heavy tank, and it's going to be able to take him out. Plus, This high explosive round also means that if he encounters the GW Tiger P on the enemy team, that he should be able to shut him down as well. Great shot there, clutch reactions, securing last-minute iron with his 10th kill. He hides behind the rock, thinking that the GW Tiger P might be able to loop one over the ridgeline there, but luckily the shell doesn't arrive. So, this is where it gets to a heartbreak moment right now, guys. Ooh, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Oh, I know you guys absolutely hate it when artillery managed to win their 1 versus 1s at the end of the game, right? So where would you be if you were the enemy artillery right now? I'm thinking I would probably be up on the ridge, but Last Minute Iron is going to focus down this alleyway. Doesn't even look up on the bridge. Oh, he does. Yeah, he has a quick think about it, but he goes past a headless T-29. That looks a little ridiculous, doesn't it? Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure that wouldn't balance like that, but maybe it would. Who knows? Anyway, Last Minute Iron is... He's got a... The thing is that what he's doing now, which is quite risky, is that the GW Tiger P could be rolling into the cap circle, and if the GW Tiger P was rolling into the cap circle, even if the 111-14, which is quite a fast tank, is still going to probably struggle to be able to get back comfortably. But he wants to push his advantage, try and get into the enemy cap circle, because for all he knows, the GW Tiger P could be anywhere, hasn't been spotted yet, and considering that he was locked in the base for that amount of time, the GW Tiger P could have gone to any one of the flanks to be able to get in an extra shot into him. So where is he going to be? He's approaching the base now. There are also some bushes at the back that he could be hiding in. There he is. He doesn't panic. He keeps pushing forwards, but unfortunately the shell misses. Will the GW Tiger P manage to put a shot into him? Now this is very risky. This rock is not the biggest rock to hide behind. Surely the GW Tiger P is going to be able to even splash a shot on him. But 458 hit points is probably going to be able to be okay. Slam dunk, yes! 440 damage done there with an AP round by the looks of it. Secures Last Minute Iron, 11 kills, and just shy of 10,000 damage this round. What a killer game. So Last Minute Iron highlighted all of the features of the WZ-111-14 that make it one of my favorite tier 9 heavy tanks in the game. The monstrous 130mm allows you to outtrade your opponents with 490 alpha damage, combined with better DPM than the E75 and the ST1, the other tier 9 heavy tanks that are very heavily armored. Combine this with enough armor, at least on the front, to pull off a few ricochets and some excellent spaced armor all across the upper middle part of the tank. Great mobility and excellent on the move and turret traverse dispersion values makes the WZ-111-14 just that little bit more like a medium tank than its heavy competitors. However, there are some things that do suck about this tank, and that is the lower plate, which is just a gigantic weak point, and even if you angle the tank at 45 degrees, it is still very easy to penetrate. Also, the tank has some quite prominent cupolas that you can try and take advantage of if it is trying to go hull down, and that's if it can go hull down, as the vehicle only gets 5 degrees of gun depression, which does limit the locations where it can hide its very weak lower plate armor. But anyway, let's just take a very quick look at the post-game stats. So Last Minute Iron plays on the North American server, and it looks like this was his first ace tanker badge in the vehicle. We'll talk about how to get your ace, right? He also got a Pools medal for getting over 10 kills, a high caliber medal, unsurprisingly, for 9,933 damage done, a Steel War medal for taking 12 hits and blocking 1,680 damage, which is about what you expect from this vehicle, and of course the one that everyone wants, the Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against at least 5, in this case 6. One thing I will mention is that Last Minute Iron did go pretty damn crazy with the premium rounds on this tank, which I didn't really feel was very necessary, and in fact was probably a little bit risky considering that heat rounds do not do very well against spaced armor. But nevertheless, I expect you were under a huge amount of pressure, and I can't really say anything because you got 2,074 base experience points. That's absolutely gigantic for a tier 9. Last Minute Iron carried this game super hard. He did as much damage as the rest of his team combined, and 5 times more what any of them were individually able to do. But I expect that he's got to give a big thank you to Mad Max RPM for creating that distraction that allowed him to go and get the 1 versus 2 engagement with the KV3 and the ST1. And what a stark contrast between Last Minute Iron and his WZ-111-14 and the poor WZ-111-14 on the enemy team who got butchered by him at the start of the round. Last Minute Iron, thank you so much for submitting this replay on the replays.QuickyBaby.com website, and it definitely makes me want to go and jump into this vehicle again. I haven't really played it as much since Wargaming buffed the 113. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video as well. If you did, please consider giving it a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And if this replay has sparked your interest in the Tier 9 Chinese heavy tank, then simply click through up here or use that more info icon in the top right hand corner of your screen to see a plethora of other WZ-111-14 gameplay. And also just a heads up that Doom is being released tomorrow. I've already got it installed and I'm going to be live streaming it pretty much all day tomorrow. So if you want to check out the hellish gameplay, then come along on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And let me know in the comments down below what you think about the WZ-111-14 and specifically how it compares to the T10, which has recently been buffed quite significantly when it changed from being the IS-8. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.